Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I wanted to specifically address this comment that was made on the earlier FWA video that I made. And I wanted to kind of pick it apart and leave some commentary to some of this comment. So the person here says, I think it's good, right? Talking about when this morning I dropped a video that says, the good and the bad, right? Is this a good problem to have or a bad problem to have? So he goes on to say, I think it's good. Will allow them to bring it to more customers and not have power users absorbing a lot of constant bandwidth. So again, pretty much in this first sentence, pretty much stating that T-Mobile is targeting a specific audience and they're looking for the bottom barrel customer. The low user that's not a heavy user, that's not streaming heavily, that's not gaming heavily. That's who they're looking for. They're looking for the customer that uses maybe between 100 to 200 to 300 gigs a month. And that's, what they're comfortable with. That's pretty much what the first sentence is saying. Maybe T-Mobile might even be looking for a customer that uses below 100 gigs a month, maybe 50, 60, 70, 80. Maybe that's the base that they're targeting. But let's continue. Have to remember what they're offering for the price. And I think the value here is great for the price they charge, especially on a $25 to $30 promotion. Good for them to begin doing this sooner rather than later, when people would be upset at a heavy deterioration of quality. So I want to speak on that, right? And I want to make that very, very clear. So T-Mobile continues pushing a narrative into the market that the product is successful, that they continue growing the product, which we can't dispute because you can see that in the numbers. But then they go on to say, as the product matures, the churn is getting lower, right? So what does that mean to us? They don't disclose a number. They just throw it out there. Hey, the churn is getting lower, right? I'm just putting that out there as an example. I'm speculating. I don't know for sure. But let's just say the churn was at 5% and they got it to a 3%. That's lower, right? That's a lower number, but it's still at a 3%. If you catch my drift. So they're still losing thousands of customers while they maintain the 500,000. So at some point, and again, we don't know for sure what the churn is on this, but if the churn is high and they're losing that many customers, they have to drive enough traffic into the queue to keep the growth above 500,000. So that's why they have to stay somewhat promotionally heavy on the FWA product, right? TVs, give away TVs, security cameras, allow more unlimited plans onto the promotion or onto the discount if you bundle with wireless. So those are certain things that T-Mobile has to drive into the market to maybe maintain the 500,000. We don't know what the churn is at. Usually, even on broadband, on cable, churn is usually higher. It's not in the 1% range or 2% range. It's usually much higher. Now, I know fiber is much lower, but cable is usually in the 3 to 4% range. So if T-Mobile is telling us that lowering it down from a 5 to a 3% is a big win, then I don't think it's that big of a win. You're operating this off of the back of your extra capacity, right? So a question that I never heard an analyst ask and T-Mobile never address: what happens when that capacity is used up? And I don't mean used up from a perspective of them closing off the neighborhood. Like, hey, we can't add any more users because the extra capacity is used up. No. What if the extra capacity is used up by actual demand from the existing base? In other words, what I'm saying is, what if the utilization of the tower has hit 80, 90, 95%? And now the ratio kicks in where the wireless user has priority, big time, right? Even in the speed category, right? Because if you're talking about deprioritization, the way that that's been handled on wireless has been, if a user, if a lot of users are on a network and you're above that threshold for deprioritization, you will experience a slowdown until that traffic is gone, and then you go back to normal. That's how it was understood on how deprioritization works. And that's not even happening on fixed wireless access. You're just being slowed. You're being managed completely different on the network. And that could be a big problem to create even further churn. I saw several comments already over the months of me making videos about fixed wireless access for T-Mobile, and people saying that they experience random buffering. And I truly believe when that random buffering happens, the wireless user, or that sector in that tower, is taking on a lot more wireless usage for whatever reason. More people at the barbecue next door. Everybody at the same time is downloading a big application, whatever, right? So for that time, could be a split second, could be 5 seconds, could be 10 seconds, whatever. For that time, that ratio kicks in, and the FWA speeds dip below what it can normally do when the tower is at a normal at its normal usage, and then you see that buffering. It could be literally a second or two. It could be a minute, right? Who knows what that looks like? But that's an inconsistent experience, and that's what T-Mobile is creating here. And going back to the very first sentence in this comment, operating and managing it like that, I mean, they may even have trouble just supporting even the low end user. It's very possible. I mean, I don't, when I stress test, that's a different story. But when I just do my regular usage, I don't do anything extraordinary. I stream, a few episodes at night before going to bed in 4K. That should be considered like normal type of usage. 4K is pretty streamlined now. So I pull up a few episodes on Apple TV Plus. That requires 25 megabits per second of bandwidth. And that's about it. But even that, I notice every now and then, it's random now, but could get worse. I do notice that buffering. I notice the buffering, and every now and then I notice that the quality degrades. 4K, 1080p, 720p, whatever. And I truly believe that's because for that split second or however long, the wireless usage peaked a little, and it's overlapping with the FWA usage, and it's slowed down enough to where the buffering occurs. And what I mean by the overlapping, just briefly explaining that the carriers presented this, that they believe wireless usage is between, hour X to hour X. And that from, 7 to, 10, that's when the fixed wireless access usage spikes and the wireless traffic dips down around that time, right? But every now and then, the two can overlap. There could be instances, a party, a get-together, a boxing match, whatever, where all of a sudden all these T-Mobile users hit that sector that weren't there before, and that will affect the fixed wireless access usage. Same if there's another FWA user in that same neighborhood. They could all of a sudden be interested in downloading bootlegged movies, Pirate Bay, whatever, right? That significantly spikes usage, and that could also affect the FWA user. So I wanted to finish out this comment. So easy to drop money on something that works fine, good enough, and know what you're getting, than to have something that works incredibly well at the beginning and then, to be dropped to just fine and good. So the product now is well saturated, right? It's not in the early stages anymore. It's not in the beta. They're now a full-blown commercial home broadband provider using the wireless network. One thing we already established, T-Mobile is not spending money to create additional capacity for fixed wireless access, meaning two things. They're not going to spend money to create additional slots, and they're not going to spend money to better the user experience. So what you're getting today on fixed wireless access, that's what you're getting. T-Mobile is not going to put a small cell in your front yard just to make your experience better. They're not going to put several small cells behind your neighborhood and the next block over just to create more slots for fixed wireless access. What they're selling and what they're using now, that's it, right? We might see some more slots open and the user experience get better as they scale C-band and DoD, but who knows how long that's going to take. It's not going to all get done in 2024. It's not all going to get done in 2025. They're going to take a gradual, slow approach, and with time, that'll get better. But can you, as the consumer, wait that long? That's the big billion-dollar question. Are you going to wait if you're suffering, right? If you're experiencing constant buffering, if the product has degraded enough, are you going to wait for T-Mobile to make those enhancements? So let me know your comments in the comment section down below. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow the social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.